Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Dylan Coventry from Coventry Racing, and today we're going to do an updated review on the 2024.5 Gas MC250f Factory Edition. Yes, that is a mouthful of words, I know. I remember saying that in the last review video I made of this bike. It was a mumble jumble of words, but no worries. We're going to get right into this review right now. So with the last review that I did on this dirt bike, you guys saw this at the 5-hour mark that I put on this bike. Now we are over 20 hours. I believe we're up in the 22, 23 range, whatever. So just a bit over 20 hours. And I've gotten the chance to really get a good feel of this machine. And I can tell you guys some really good things and some things here and there that could maybe use some work. So before you get into buying this bike, or if you were ever looking into getting a gas, let's talk about those things. We'll talk about the bad things first, because usually that's what people want to hear first. First things first, I mentioned it in the 5-hour review. It wasn't as big of a deal then as it is now, but it's definitely becoming more and more noticeable when you go to the track, and it's the air forks. Now, air forks aren't necessarily the worst thing in the world. I wouldn't say that I absolutely hate them, but I'm going to tell you this. It gets very, very annoying going to the track and checking your air pressure all day long. Every time you go to the track, it gets really annoying, really fast. One of the things that makes it super annoying is when you have a bar pad in the way, when you got handlebars like this set right here, you have to pull these bar pads off every single time you want to check that air pressure. To some people, it's not a big deal. Sure, whatever. But when you go to the track and you got to pull this stupid bar pad off, I don't know, like 4 or 5 times throughout the day, depending on what the weather looks like, it can get really annoying. Aside from the annoying factor, let's talk about the air forks in general. When it comes to on the track, you don't have near the connection that you would with spring forks in your corners, I would say, with your ruts, even on some of the high bank berms. I've had multiple times where it's almost like the front end doesn't really want to connect you as the rider to the ground near as well as, like I said, a spring conversion would. I will say one thing that has been pretty good with the air forks is that slap down feeling. The slap down feeling is not that brutal. I would say that every now and again you might get a little harsh feeling, maybe if you over jump or you land, a little too hard on the flat or something like that off of a jump, but really, I was shocked that if you came up short, maybe went a little long, the air forks held up on their own pretty well. It's a lot of areas such as the braking bumps, the accelerating bumps that you're really going to notice, as I also mentioned in the corners with the ruts. That's a lot of the area that air suspension really does not help you out. So that's one bad thing. As for another thing that's not the most enjoyable about this bike, and it's pretty common with, I'd say, most bikes nowadays in general, with this being the factory edition, this is a lot of money. No, I'm not using that as a way to boast the fact that I have one of these bikes. It's more so as this is a problem in the moto community in general. I know the prices of products and work and labor and everything else in between has gone up over the past couple years, and that's why bikes are as expensive as they are now, but it does get to a point where you start to say, wow, I spent a lot of money on this 250. Again, a 250, not even like a premier class bike, the 450s or even 350. And it's just a lot of money, and it can get pretty pricey pretty quick. Now, thankfully, we can start diving into the good things of this bike, which is it doesn't require a ton of maintenance. Maybe I don't ride my bike as hard as other guys. Maybe I'm just a little bit lucky, but I've been very blessed to look at this bike from the outside in and notice I haven't really had hardly any maintenance to do on this. Sure, I'll tighten my chain, I'll check the spokes, I'll do basic maintenance like changing the oil filter, the oil itself, cleaning the air filter. Sure, stuff like that. But aside from that, this bike's held up really well. And I have seen other bikes not last this long without doing any like major teardown, doing any certain special, inspections. You know what I'm saying? It's a good thing about this bike, in my opinion, that you don't have to worry as much about that stuff. And that leads me to my next point that's a good thing about this bike is look at how clean this bike looks. I think these Austrian bikes hold up very well. I can't get over the fact that they look this clean and they've held up this well. I mean, this is just my bike again, but you look at this bike and you don't really see some major scratches. You don't see some major damage or paint tear and wear on the frame. There's just a lot of points to this bike when it comes to cleanliness factor and how it looks, and the fact that it can stay looking this good, that's a good thing in my opinion. Especially for down the road if you want to resell or if you want to trade in and get another bike. I think that's a very important factor in owning one of these bikes. Now, another thing that I really like about this bike is the ergonomics. I know that some people have mentioned that this bike seems a little wide. I find that a little crazy because I've been on many 4-strokes and a lot of these 4-strokes are not that slim. This is a very slim bike, and regardless of slim factor, the entire ergonomics of this machine are so well put together. Again, this is a true testament to the Austrian machines. I think that the Austrian bikes, the KTM, the Husky, and the Gas have really done a phenomenal job over the past couple of years of looking at the ergonomics of a machine and saying, we need to develop something perfect for the rider. Perfect is a stretch, but really nearly perfect for a good design for riders. The final and last thing I will say that I really enjoy about this bike is hands down the motor. The motor on this machine is unbelievable. I can't get over how well this motor holds up. And one of my favorite parts about this motor is getting the bike in its higher RPMs, higher RPMs for this bike. The higher RPMs on this machine work out so well. This bike loves getting into those high RPMs, and that makes this a fun bike. It makes it not just fun, but it makes it aggressive. It makes it competitive, and I think that's what is really important in today's world with dirt bikes, especially in the 250 class, considering 250s already lack power compared to open classes, for example. And this high RPM machine just pulls and pulls and pulls, and you are going to be so thankful that it does because it's so enjoyable. It makes it so fun. And I really love this motor. As well as with it being a high RPM machine, this thing is also super, super smooth. I really don't think I've been on a more smooth engine than this bike right here. You know, I can really play with the throttle, and the throttle is not going to want to jerk me off the rear end of the bike. The bottom end of the machine is not going to be all just, you know what I mean? There's a lot of work to be said, good words to be said about the motor that was designed and put on this bike. And that's the updated review I have on this machine. Again, remember, this is my opinion. This is all my experience. There are great bikes out there that are not this bike. There are bad bikes out there that are not this bike. The ultimate thing is finding what you see is comfortable and you find it the most fitting to your riding style is the most important part to finding a dirt bike. But I will say, if you start looking in the direction of this factory edition Gas, you are going to be a very happy customer. Again, my opinion, but I truly do believe that pretty much anybody could purchase this bike and they're going to have a blast. So thank you guys for tuning into today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, a comment, and leave a subscribe for me to join me on more moto videos for the future. We've got riding content, podcast content, bike reviews, and so many more things to come. I'm very excited to share that there's a lot more to be held out there for the Coventry Racing channel. So thank you guys for joining in today. Take care, and again, whoa. And again, thank you for watching Coventry Racing.